Hello everyone, just wanted to introduce you to the new reveal video for Lil Blue II. Since we made our first reveal video a couple months ago, a lot of changes have occurred to Lil Blue II, primarily to make it from a part-time stealth camper to a full-time live-in camper. And one of the biggest upgrades that we made was to switch the power system so that the vehicle now has the ability to have an in-house battery that gets charged via the vehicle's alternator. As you can see, the underhood 750 watt inverter has now been removed, and I put this 350 watt inverter here in its place. This 350 watt inverter won't really be used. It's just here for emergency as a fail-safe if the other inverter fails. So I just left it here, but I don't really plan on hooking it up. I have removed the 120 volt line that came from the 750 watt inverter and went straight into the vehicle because, as you saw in a previous video, we have now set up wire here to the positive cable that goes to the house battery. What you're looking at right here is a little 30 amp fuse that we put in. But basically now we have the ability to charge the house battery using the vehicle's alternator over there, which should allow us to provide our own power to be completely off-grid if we need to be. So let's go ahead and take a look at the updated power system. This is Lil Blue's new updated house battery system. I have relocated the unit and tried to make it safer due to some safety concerns that were pointed out in my build video on installation of the house battery system. Basically what I've done now is I've kept the battery here inside the battery box and have the wires coming into it, but I don't have everything assembled into one unit. And the reason I didn't do that is because I'm using lead acid battery, just regular automotive battery, and that produces outgassing, like dangerous hydrogen gas, hydrogen and oxygen, I think, while it's charging. And in a confined space like this, with my on-off switch right on it, there's a possibility of creating a spark which could cause the whole thing to explode. So what I did was I moved potential spark creators further away from the actual battery itself, and that meant moving the switch to a different location and moving the connectors, for example the inverter and the DC 12 volt power and USB connectors up here on top of this unit, which is just basically a drawer here that I use to store like cables and stuff for the power system. I also attached the portable jump starter and air compressor right here on the side using bungee cord, just to keep the system together so it doesn't fly around while I'm driving. The switch which turns the house battery here, this is the switch which turns the house battery connection on and off, like when I flip it down like that, it connects the house battery to the vehicle battery so it can be recharged, and when I flip it up it disconnects it, so that way I don't wear down the vehicle battery when I'm using the house battery when I'm not driving. So essentially when I'm driving, I'll flip this down to turn it on, and the house battery over there will recharge, and when I'm at a stoplight or something I might flip it off so that, you know, in case there's fumes and stuff, I don't want it sitting there while we're parked at a stoplight or something, so I'll flip it off. But once the car is moving again and the air is flowing through, I'll turn it back on. And the reason for that is when you're charging those batteries, you should vent them, but I didn't feel like putting holes through the floor of the vehicle or the side walls, so I basically just drive around with the windows open when I'm charging battery system to let it blow out all the gases. Although it doesn't look like a lot has changed, a lot has actually changed as far as the interior design of Lil Blue II. As this is now designed to be a full-time vehicle, this is now the normal setup, which is the bedroom mode. And I've tried to make it really comfortable in here and look like a bedroom. So it has a computer monitor, which I use for doing computer work and entertainment. Also has my drawers, which I can access, and I don't know if you can see that unit there, that's a thermometer with a calendar and a clock, so I can check what time it is and what the temperature is in the vehicle. It also supports a 12-volt fan here that blows, basically, you know, it goes back and forth and blows across your body as you're sleeping. And of course the emergency flashlight radio self-generator unit that we picked up at the thrift store. But essentially the bed is still made up of the same items as before, but I've made it a little bit better. Let me take it apart here just to show you how it's put together. Okay, underneath everything I have the same red lawn cushions that make up the primary bed cushion system, but on top of it, as you can see, I've now installed some bedding foam just to give it another layer of foam. And on top of that we have a sleeping bag, and then on top of that I have the comforter. And this bed is really comfortable now. I'll be testing it here in the next day or two, and I'll do a follow-up video just to let you know how it turned out. But the whole reason for all this is because this is now a full-time vehicle, meant to be used daily. I want the bed to be super comfortable, and that's why we went ahead and upgraded it. I also installed the entertainment system back there, and we lost some space there for, you know, leg room and stuff like that, but I've measured it out for me laying in here, and I can lay pretty comfortably at a slight diagonal, and if I need to lay straight, I can put my feet, I don't know if you can see the space there by the monitors, I can put my feet through there and basically just lay straight flat out, and it's very comfortable. Another minor upgrade is that I installed these push button LED lamps. I bought a pack of 4 of them from Walmart for only $4, and they run off batteries, and you just hit them to turn them on and flip them again to turn them off. I stuck them up to the ceiling using Velcro, and they hold up pretty well, although sometimes they fall off, and I just put it back up. It's no big deal. But these are pretty cheap ways of adding light, and they seem to work great. I have a light here, another one there, another one up in the front cab area, and one there right above the dresser unit, so I can use it at night if I need to. The van's in-house power system is powered by this 12-volt battery that's under here and hooked up to this inverter, which I can flip on if I need 120-volt access. Okay, so right now the battery is running a little bit low, so it needs to be charged, which is why it's making this noise right now. So I will probably go ahead and charge this here shortly. The DC 12-volt is always on and hooked up to the fan, so we can flip the fan on. And as you can see, the fan swerves back and forth. So it goes across your whole body as you're laying there to help you cool down. Although I'm not showing it here, I have purchased some mosquito netting screen that can be installed over each of the doors and the front windows, as well as the rear hatch, so that you can get full circulation in this vehicle if you're parked out in the boonies. If you're not trying to stealth camp somewhere in the city, but you're out in the woods or on the beach or whatever, you can just hook up mosquito netting, and the whole vehicle can air out. In a prior video, I had discussed the possibility of making a hat system for Lil Blue to carry on portable shading. And this was just an initial test, and it basically shows that that idea won't really work unless you cover the whole vehicle, because when the sun heats this part that's exposed, like any exposed metal, the metal will actually conduct heat and it'll spread throughout the other parts, including the parts that are undercover. So it does slow down the heating, so it doesn't heat up as fast, but as far as keeping the roof cold or cooler, it doesn't do that, because once the exposed part heats up, like right here, the heat actually goes and spreads throughout the whole vehicle. But I went ahead and left this up here anyways, because it makes a slight difference. And the big reason though is, see, these are magnets. These are hard drive magnets. My ex-girlfriend's older boyfriend, or her ex-boyfriend rather, ripped apart hard drives, and he had all these magnets sitting around. So I asked her if I could have them, and she said sure. So these are very, very powerful magnets because they come from hard drives, and I use them to basically put the screen, attach the screen that I bought around the frame, because you can see the frame on the doors are all metal. So I just take the screening, which I'll show in another video here, and I just attach them with the magnets all along. It takes only a few minutes to do the whole vehicle, and then I'm all set up. Now obviously I wouldn't be putting up those mosquito net screens unless I'm parked out in the wilderness or in the middle of nowhere. Not so much for city stealth camping, but for boondocking out in the middle of nowhere. And this go round, living in the van, I'm planning on doing a lot more of that. Parking in the middle of nowhere versus trying to camp at Walmart or in a city. And the reason for that is it is hot here in Florida, and at night the temperature in the vehicle on my initial test showed that it was still like in the 80s and 90s in the vehicle, which is crazy if you're trying to stealth camp, which means you can't really open up all your windows and doors. You can maybe only open a little crack or something, and it gets so hot in there it's hard to sleep. So I'm planning on parking out in the woods or just away from people, where it won't be an issue with me opening up the vehicle and letting the air flow through. And hopefully the fan here will be enough to keep me cool. And if not, I have devised a water evaporative, or an evaporative cooler, instead of relying on ice. This works by running water through these I guess they could call the wick, but the water comes up from this unit here, goes up to the wick, and then flows down, and the fan will blow the damp air, which is cooler air, right at you. And that in theory should cool you down a little bit, maybe a couple degrees. It may or may not make a difference, but it remains to be tested. I've got the water pump on order, so I'm waiting for that. And in a worst case scenario, I guess I could add ice in there to the water, and it'd be blowing cold water and icy air at me. Now at this point you might be wondering how I'm supposed to be getting ice if I'm parked out in the middle of nowhere. Well, now that I have a house battery system and I can recharge it with the vehicles while driving, I have decided to go ahead and install a dorm fridge freezer right here. This is actually a 120 volt unit. It requires 100 watts. So my inverter here is strong enough to power it. The problem is that that unit right there takes about 3 or 4 hours to make ice, and I don't really plan on running it unless I'm driving. When I'm driving, I might turn on the inverter and run the refrigerator freezer to try to make ice, especially if I'm going long distance. But for the most part, it's going to be used as an ice chest or a cooler. So I may buy some ice and put it in there, or if I happen to park at a picnic area or campground or something that has 120 volt access, I can plug it in, through the to the shore power, and then I can run it all night pretty much and generate ice as well as keep food cold. Storage underneath is still the same, although you can see I have some life preservers and stuff there for water, and I also have the camping gear there, and in the far back there is the emergency toilet, which if I'm set up for camp, I'll bring that toilet back out. And the bench that used to be under the miniature bench that was under there was cut into a stool, so that this whole section here, back section here, can be converted into a work desk area for me to do my photo editing and computing. I won't show it in this video, but I'll show it in an upcoming video where I'll have Little Blue configured for work mode where you can see the office. Right now it's configured for bed mode because most of the time I'll be using the van to sleep in. Although I may end up using it to do some computer work, but that remains to be seen. But this is now the normal configuration. I disassembled the whole rear bench area. I don't know if you remember in a previous video we had a rear bench back there that really never got used because it didn't have seat belts. So it wasn't really safe to put anyone there. So that got removed completely and is now configured to become a workspace and an office desk. The front still remains the same. It is essentially the middle bench seat, and I can flip all this up, put the bedding material in the back, flip this up, and I have room to carry 2 passengers up in the back, as well as 1 up front, and of course a driver. So the vehicle can still function as a soccer mom type vehicle and carry up to 4 people. The back of the unit hasn't really changed much other than we added a kind of a little shelving unit here for the entertainment system, which is essentially a computer monitor. And I can plug my computer and put it in this space here through the system, and then use this to watch videos as well as do computing when I have the back area set up as a desk or office mode. I also installed these drawers here so that we can actually carry food now. And supplies, of course, more food. I tried to put the heavier food towards the bottom, but basically we can now carry maybe upwards of a week's worth of food with us, and live extended, for an extended period off grid. The devices here are actually 120 volt, and they do require a lot of power. I think this toaster oven requires like 1,000 watts or more, and this unit here I think also requires 1,000 watts. My inverter won't handle that, and even if it did, I'm not sure you would want to do that, running off an inverter inside the vehicle, because that takes a lot of power. But for now I'm keeping it because some of the parks and stuff I'm planning on parking at appear to have 120 volt access, so I can simply plug the system here into 120 volts, and I can cook things or heat things up using the existing appliances, as well as keep my refrigerator freezer running. At least that's the plan. We'll find out if that actually works in reality when I actually try to use it as a real system and live in it and see how that works out. So stay tuned for the vlogs to learn more about that, because I'm planning on doing vlog updates as often as possible, just to let you guys know what's happening, what's working, and what isn't working. As you can see here, the front of the vehicle has stayed fairly the same pretty much. I have the cheap $10 dash cam, which is just another Android phone. I don't know if you can spot the band-aid there going across. I just need to put some cotton balls under there, but a viewer to the channel had suggested doing that because I was getting so much wind noise. So in theory, the cotton and the band-aid should help reduce the wind noise. Now this particular video right here, I'm filming it with a similar setup like that, except I have cotton in there. So hopefully you'll notice the reduction of wind noise, although I noticed just now the band-aid was loose, so maybe some wind noise made it. But a previous video where I filmed it with the band-aid in place seemed to indicate that it works as a windbreaker, as a noise reduction device for reducing the noise. So if you are like me, filming with a phone and you're getting a lot of wind noise, it may be worth a shot to get a band-aid and some cotton and put it underneath there over the microphone, and as long as it doesn't fall off like this one did here a minute ago, it seems to work to reduce the noise. I didn't really do much to change it, the system, other than remove the FM transmitter, because there's no point in it now that I have a cassette adapter here and I can simply just plug in. I get better sound. And I have another cheap phone, Android phone, that I can use to basically play music. I can use it as an MP3 player and play whatever songs I want. Other than that, I do have a rice cooker here. This is a 120 volt appliance, And I built a little stand to hold it so it doesn't fly around. And I even have a bungee cord here to hold the lid in place, so, in case of an accident or something, to try to keep hot liquid from spewing all over me. But having this out, I'm hoping it doesn't fly out and hit me. But most of the time I'll actually be parked when I'm using this. So basically it has a plug here, 120 volt plug, that plugs into another cable that's tied into the house battery system there. And I also have this 12 volt console fridge, that cooler rather. And basically what I keep in here is just drinks, sodas, and water. And it comes on whenever I drive the vehicle, because this unit is plugged into, show you where that's plugged here. That cooler is plugged right here into the back socket of the vehicle, which comes on when the vehicle's turned on. It's an auxiliary socket that comes on. So my drinks don't really get cold there unless I'm driving around, and then it can get cold. If I really need to chill it fast, now that I have a 120 volt fridge freezer, I can actually put a drink into the freezer portion, turn that unit on for a little bit, and it'll chill it super fast. But as far as making ice, it takes the same amount of time in that as it does in a full-size fridge, unless you have an ice maker. It'll take about 3 or 4 hours. So I don't really plan on making ice with it unless I'm actually parked where I have access to 120 volt power. Just wanted to do a quick update also about this paint here, for me painting the cabinet red there. But this is a cheapo water mister that I think I got at Walmart. It sucks. Don't buy this one. It's it says it's the Bottle Crew is the brand. But this stupid lid here, this part here, keeps falling off. So I'm going to be looking to get a different water mister. But misting helps to cool down if you need to cool down real quick. Because once the water hits you, when it evaporates from you, you get a really nice cooling effect. Let me think what else is there. Not much other than just another cabinet here used for more storage, and that I have installed basically tubs here for storage under each of the seats. I made room here for one more, and we'll be putting it here for the middle seat area. And of course I have storage for hoses and other items there. So basically every available nook and cranny here is used for storage, because pretty much everything I own will be what's in this van. So that means carrying everything I need in the van, which means taking the available space and utilizing it to the maximum benefit. Let's take a final look here at the power system, the onboard power system, or battery house system. This wire right here actually connects to the outlet that you saw in the back, the kitchen galley area. So if I plug this in, that galley connector back there goes live, and right now the refrigerator is hooked up to it, so it would actually turn on. But what I can do also is I have power here. I don't know if you can see that, the extension cord. So I can plug that white cord into this one and then plug the other end into shore power, and the whole system comes on using shore power instead of with the inverter. Otherwise I plug this guy into the inverter and turn it on, and now I'm actually self-contained and running my own power system. Right now, let's look at the battery again. I'm going to show you how we charge this unit back up. Okay, it's beeping because the power is low, and the reason it was low is I was actually laying in here earlier testing it and running the fan for quite a bit. So right now, the voltage reading says 10.3, which is pretty low. So we're going to try to charge that back up. Alright, to charge the system up, we basically are going to turn our car's engine into a generator. We're going to crank it up, and then the power from there, from the alternator, will go to charge the vehicle battery and also trickle charge our house battery. I'm going to start up the car now. Okay, when I start up the car, it's still not charging yet because the system's not connected. And the reason it's not connected is because I put in a switch, which I'm going to show you now how we activate it. Okay, I just wanted to show you that even though the vehicle's running, it's still not charging. And the reason it's not charging is I haven't flipped the switch to connect the two systems. I'm going to turn this on and you're going to see that it should come up still low and beep. So you can see we're only getting 10.3 volts. So that's what's left in the house battery. So I'm going to go flip the switch and show you what happens. Switch to connect the system is right here behind the driver's seat. So I can just reach over and flip it with my hands. To turn it on, I just flip it on, which is down in this case. And you can hear it stopped beeping. I don't know if you heard the inverter there stopped beeping because now it's getting power. Now this is the line that we ran from the battery compartment. The battery terminal, the positive terminal back here, and we've wired it here now instead of on the battery pack like we had previously. So now, you know, when I flip it, there's a spark over here, nowhere near the battery, and hopefully that'll keep us from blowing up. But as you can see, when I flipped it on, the beeping stopped. Now, something that might be worth pointing out is that a lot of people who have done this say that you should use a thicker gauge wire here. I use number 10 or 10A, I think it's AWG or AWG wire, number 10 wire, which was what I found, you know, that was readily available, and I felt it would be powerful enough. A lot of people are saying you should use, you know, like the same gauge as jumper cables, which could be done actually. You could, you know, buying that wire would be very expensive, but you could buy a jumper cable and just use the jumper cable wiring. So that might be an upgrade that I may do in the future, but for now, this system does seem to be charging my battery up, and it doesn't seem to take very long. So I might just leave it like that because it seems to be working, and if it's working and working good enough for me, I'm not sure I really need to mess with it. But a lot of people are suggesting to use a thicker gauge wire. So if you're building it yourself, you might want to do that. But for me, for now, I'll keep this. And when you watch the vlog, we'll see if it actually works enough to charge the system up for daily use. Okay, we are back at the inverter by the house battery, and you can see that the power coming in is 13.5 volts. So remember when we looked up here earlier, it was like 10 point something. That's how much power was remaining in the house battery. But right now it's reading 13.5, 13.6. And the reason for that is because the power is now coming from that wire that we wired up to the house battery. And the inverter is actually providing power through the system to come into our battery down here and charging the unit back up. Now it's starting to go between 13.5 and 13.6 because it's starting to charge up. And what I found is when the unit starts reading about 13.8 or so, the battery here, the house battery, is pretty much charged. So this will climb up until it gets to about 13.8. And when it gets to 13.8, then I know the system's pretty much charged. And if I first turn it off at that point, you know, disconnect and stuff, the system will say 13.8, then it'll start to drop 13.7, 13.6, 13.5. And typically, on my battery at least, it's fully charged when it's at about 12.8. So even though it says 13.5, whatever, you know, 13.6, 13.7 right now, when I turn off the vehicle and disconnect the system from the house battery, it drops back down to about 12.8. And that, you know, as long as it's 12.8, my battery's as charged as it's going to get pretty much. And what I'll do is an experiment soon here to see, you know, when I start at 12.8, what it drains down to after one night of running the system with the fan and maybe the swamp cooler, you know, the evaporative cooler, to see how much it drains down and how long it takes to charge up. But my test so far has shown that it doesn't take too long to charge up using the line that we rigged up. So that I think that pretty much wraps it up. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, please feel free to post them on the comments section. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video and found some useful information from here. If you're building your own system, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.